The quiet worker mining colony of Vorg-17 was a place where the sun never truly rose. Dark clouds covered the sky, filled with smoke and dust from machines that never stopped. The colony was owned by the Drelk's Empire, an alien race known for their cruelty. They ruled with heavy weapons and sharp claws. Humans were brought here not as guests, but as worker-slaves. Among them was a man named Kale. Kale never spoke much. He woke up early, ate the same cold food, and walked to the mines. Before the alarms even started, he worked harder than anyone else. While other workers rested, he kept digging. While others complained, he stayed quiet. People thought he was strange, maybe even broken. But no one cared enough to ask Dot to the guards. Kale was just another human. Weak, slow, unimportant Dot. But one morning, something changed. A massive ore lifter machine broke down. It was one of the heaviest machines on Vorg-17, used to move large metal blocks. It had fallen on its side, blocking the main mining path. For alien workers tried lifting it. Even with their thick arms and strong backs, they failed. A Drelk's overseer shouted, angry, "Move it now or no food tonight." The workers looked at each other. Fear showed in their eyes. The Drelks had killed for less. Kale stepped forward. "You?" The overseer laughed. "This thing weighs more than 10 of you." Kale didn't answer. He walked slowly to the machine. The other workers stepped back, thinking he had gone mad. He placed both hands under the edge of the machine. His feet sank into the ground. His muscles tightened. Then, with a low breath, Kale pushed. The metal groaned. The earth shook slightly. Then, the machine moved, inch by inch. Kale lifted the side of the ore lifter. With one final push, he flipped it back to its original position. The other workers stared. In silence, even the alien stopped talking. A small alien technician, hiding behind a container, had recorded the entire moment on a secret device. Kale didn't smile. He didn't look proud. He just wiped his hands, turned around, and went back to work. But the video did not stay secret. 2 days later, that video reached the black web of the galaxy, the place where outlaws, rebels, and shadow groups shared forbidden things. The clip was titled, "Human Lifts 9-ton Machine with Bare Hands. No tech, no power suit." Within hours, thousands of beings saw it. Many laughed, thinking it fake. Others watched closely, analyzing his body, his eyes, his calm face. One group did not laugh. The Morvani Syndicate, a powerful group of bounty hunters. They saw the video and froze. "That's not just strength," their leader said. "That's something else." Meanwhile, back on Vorg-17, Kale had no idea. He kept working, digging deeper into the rock, lifting metal, ignoring pain. But something inside him was changing. Each night, his dreams grew darker. He saw flashes of light, heard screams, and felt fire in his blood. One night, he woke up sweating. He looked at his hands. They were shaking not from fear, but from something else, like they remembered a war he had never fought. The next day, a new worker came to the colony. She was human, young, and quiet like Kale. But when their eyes met, she whispered something that made Kale stop for the first time in years. "They're coming for you." "Who?" Kale asked, his voice rough from years of silence. "Everyone." Kale looked around. The guards watched him more now. The cameras followed him too closely. Whispers followed him like shadows. He didn't understand why, but he would soon. Because this wasn't just about strength. It was about what he was. And the galaxy was starting to remember something it had tried to forget. What humans were truly capable of. Asterisk, the spark across the galaxy, far from the cold mines of Vorg-17. Screens flickered in the dark, alien eyes, mechanical sensors, and artificial minds all focused on one thing. A video. It played over and over, grainy, short, but impossible to ignore. A human in a dusty work suit lifted a 9-ton machine without help. No exosuit, no gravity assist. Only hands, only strength. And no emotion. To most, it looked like a trick. But to a few, it looked like a warning. In a quiet part of space, inside a hidden station orbiting a dead moon. A warlord named Raxor watched the clip in silence. His face, covered with scars, did not move. Beside him, a young mercenary asked, "Should I track the human?" Raxor shook his head. "No." "Why not?" "Because if that's real, you won't return." Raxor stood up and turned off the screen. Humans were removed for a reason. Back on Vorg-17, Kale kept his head low, but the world around him was no longer the same. The guards watched him long. Other workers avoided him, machines he touched worked better. Like they obeyed his silent commands, and in the shadows, whispers grew louder. "He's the one. Did you see what he did? They say he's from the old blood." One night, as Cale returned to his sleeping quarters, he found a small note under his blanket. "Come to Tunnel 7. Alone. No name. No signature." He didn't go right away. Cale had learned long ago that silence kept you alive. But something pulled him deep inside, something stronger than fear. When the lights dimmed and the guards finished their patrols, Cale walked to Tunnel 7. It was cold, empty, and half abandoned. Broken lights flickered on the walls. He stepped carefully, his footsteps echoing. Then he heard a soft click behind him. He turned fast. 3 masked figures stood at the tunnel's entrance. "Don't be afraid," one of them said. "Who are you?" Cale asked. The tallest figure stepped forward and removed her mask. It was the new worker, the woman who warned him. "My name is Lyra. We're with the Ember Circle. What do you want?" "To help you, before others find you." Cale didn't move. "Why would I need help?" Lyra looked into his eyes. "Because you're not just strong. You're waking up." Before Cale could ask what she meant, the tunnel shook. Alarms blared across the colony. Red lights flashed. A robotic voice echoed through the walls. "Unauthorized ship has landed. Alert level Gamma." Lyra's face turned pale. "They're already here." Outside, a black ship hovered above the colony. No markings, no flags, just silent death. It belonged to the Morvani Syndicate, bounty hunters feared across the galaxy. Their leader, Vor, stepped out of the ship. He was half metal, half flesh, with red eyes that saw heat, fear, and lies. "Bring me the human," he ordered. In minutes, the guards betrayed Cale. They handed over files, maps, names. But when the Syndicate reached Cale's room, it was empty. Vor smiled. "He runs. That means he's afraid. That means he's still weak." He was wrong. Deep in the old tunnels, Lyra and her team led Cale through hidden paths. They moved fast, but Cale could feel it, the heat in his chest, the pressure in his head, the slow rising storm in his blood. "What's happening to me?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. Finally, she stopped. "You were born on a forgotten colony, right? Do you know what that means?" "It means we were left behind." "No," she said. "It means you were kept hidden." Cale's heart pounded. "The humans of today," Lyra continued, "were weaker than our ancestors. But some were born different. They carried the old strength, the kind that once shook planets." She pointed at him. "You're one of them." Cale shook his head. "I'm just a worker." "No," she said softly. "You're a spark." Behind them, a loud explosion shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. Voices echoed. Syndicate hunters were close. Lyra grabbed his arm. "You need to run." Cale clenched his fists. "No more running." He stepped forward. The tunnel in front of him collapsed suddenly. Fire and smoke filled the air. Through the flames, 3 Syndicate hunters appeared, armed with plasma rifles. They pointed them at Cale. "Surrender." One of them said, "We only need you alive." Cale's eyes burned gold. He walked forward. Final warning. They fired. But the energy blasts hit something invisible around him, then bounced back. The tunnel shook violently. Metal cracked. Fire turned blue. The air became heavy. The hunters screamed, dropping their weapons. Cale didn't touch them. He simply raised one hand. And the world around him broke. Later, in the silence after the fire faded, Lyra stood beside him, her face full of fear and awe. "What did you just do?" she whispered. Cale looked at his hand. "I don't know," he said, "but deep down, something ancient whispered back, you've only just begun." The escape deep below the surface of Org 17, the colony shook like a creature in pain. Fire still burned in the broken tunnels. The bodies of 3 elite Syndicate hunters lay crushed under fallen steel, but none of them were touched, not by weapons, not by hands. They were broken by force alone, a pressure that had no shape, no sound, no mercy. And at the center of that force was Cale. His eyes no longer looked tired. They burned now, not with rage, but with something worse, clarity. He was beginning to remember. Lyra stood behind him, silent. The others in her group didn't speak either. They had heard stories, old ones, about what humans used to be. Soldiers who crushed tanks with their fists, voices that could split mountains, hands that could shape energy like clay. But this wasn't a story anymore. This was Cale. He turned to Lyra. "They won't stop now, will they?" She shook her head. Slowly. No, not after this. The Syndicate will send more. Bigger ships, stronger weapons. They'll come for you until the end. Kale nodded. Then let's make this the beginning. On the surface, panic spread. The Overseers lost control. The Syndicate ship was in ruins. The guards who survived fled or pretended to be allies. Communication lines were dead. Someone had wiped the system clean, but a signal still escaped far away in deep space. A cold-eyed alien noble named Selvar received the message. Target human. Anomaly confirmed. Power breach level 7. Request immediate purge. Selvar leaned back in his throne of bones and whispered one word. Authorized. 10 warships change direction. Towards VORG-17. Meanwhile, Kale and the Ember Circle moved through an old cargo tunnel, one that hadn't been used in decades. Broken robots lay rusting along the walls. Some still flickered, weakly trying to obey commands that were never spoken. There's a ship hidden below the refinery, Lyra said. Smuggler class, slow, but it flies. How far can it get? Kale asked. Far enough to reach the Veil. After that, we vanish. What's in the Veil? Rebels. And something else. Something waiting for you. Before Kale could ask more, a warning light flashed above them. Motion detectors had picked up movement. Lyra turned to him. If we're caught, you run. Promise me. Kale didn't answer. The floor beneath them shook from the shadows ahead. Metal footsteps echoed faster, heavier than before. New Syndicate hunters. But these ones were different. They were machines. 5 of them marched forward, glowing with red lights and weapons built into their arms. No face, no voice, only the will to hunt. Lyra raised her weapon. The others did too. Get behind us. Kale didn't move. Get back, she shouted again. Kale stepped forward. I said, they're not here for you, he said calmly. They're here for me. He closed his eyes. The air changed. Pressure built around them. A low humming sound came from the walls, the floor, his skin. One of the machines scanned him. Power signature. Unstable. Engage with caution. They fired. Kale raised both hands, not to shield, to pull. The walls tore open. The ceiling cracked. Gravity bent sideways. Energy ripped from the power cores nearby and flowed into Kale like water into a dry river. The machines floated for a moment, then exploded in all directions, shattered by their own weapons. Silence returned. Kale fell to one knee. Steam rose from his back. I can't hold it long, he said. Lyra ran to him, helping him up. We're almost there. Minutes later, they reached the hidden chamber under the refinery. An old ship sat there, covered in dust and oil. Its engine still glowed faintly blue. Get in, Lyra said. Now. Kale hesitated. He looked up through the cracks in the metal above. He could feel them coming. 10 ships. Alien mines. Orders to kill. He stepped into the ship. The doors closed. Engines roared. As the ship lifted. Kale stood near a window, watching the surface disappear. But he knew this wasn't escape. This was the start of war. In deep space, on the lead alien warship. Noble Selvar watched a hologram of Kale escaping. This is not a weapon, he said. This is extinction with a face. A soldier beside him asked, Do we call the council? No, Selvar said. They buried the truth. Now, it rises. He leaned forward, eyes cold. Let them remember who they tried to erase. On the ship, Kale finally sat down. His hands still burned. Lyra came and sat beside him. How do you feel? He looked at his palms. Like they're not mine. They are, she said. And the galaxy is going to fear them. He looked into the stars ahead. They should fear what made me need them. Asterisk, the weapon within the ship moved through black space, leaving VORG-17 behind like a scar on a forgotten world. Kale sat in silence. Outside the window, stars passed like ghosts. His reflection stared back at him, calm on the surface. But something inside him shifted like fire under glass. He no longer felt like a man running. He felt like a storm waiting to rise. In the cockpit, Lyra spoke to a small device. A scrambled voice responded. We're entering the Veil soon, she said. Tell the others. And wake the Watcher. The voice replied. Is it true? Did he really destroy them without touching? Lyra glanced at Kale through the glass. No, she said. He didn't destroy them. He erased them. Hours passed. Kale wandered the ship's narrow halls, stopping when he heard a strange noise like humming mixed with whispering. He followed the sound to a locked chamber at the bottom of the ship. The door slid open on its own. Inside, There was only darkness. Then, light. In the center of the room floated a glowing sphere, no larger than a human heart. It spun slowly, whispering in an ancient tongue. Kale stepped closer. His hands began to tingle. The sphere pulsed, and suddenly he saw. Vision slammed into his mind. Broken cities on alien worlds. Giant machines kneeling before human figures. Stars pulled from the sky like fruit, and always hands, human hands, shaping energy, bending gravity, silencing entire armies. Then a voice, deep and full of sorrow, spoke inside his mind. You were not meant for war, but war made you. He dropped to his knees, gasping. The sphere dimmed. Behind him, Lyra stood, in the doorway, watching. What was that? Kale asked, still shaking. A fragment, she said, from before the fall. Before the great erasure. What erasure? She sat beside him. You think the galaxy simply forgot humans? No, they made the galaxy forget. The old powers, councils, empires, creators, they couldn't control what humans were becoming. So they wiped us out. Not all. A few were hidden, scattered across lost colonies, like seeds, waiting. Kale stared at his hands. Why me? Because your blood still remembers. Later, in the medical bay, a rebel medic scanned Kale's body. Her eyes went wide. His cells, they're producing energy levels higher than a reactor core. Can it be weaponized? Lyra asked. The medic frowned. You don't understand. He is the weapon. No implant, no trigger. It's biological. His entire body is converting stress, emotion, even pain into force. Kale looked at the screen. His heartbeat was calm. How long do I have before I lose control? He asked. The medic hesitated. I don't think you'll lose control. I think control is what the others are afraid of. They reached the veil. It was not a place, but a field, a storm of broken ships, dead satellites, and floating tech debris, circling a hidden rebel world. Only those with the right signal could pass through safely. They entered. Below them, a gray planet spun in silence. The ship landed on a high ridge above a black sea. Waiting for them was the Watcher. He was not young, not old, not even fully human anymore. Cybernetic lines traced across his face, and his eyes glowed a soft white. He didn't speak at first, just stared at Kale like he was reading a long-lost book. Then finally, so, you are the first awake. Kale stayed silent. Do you know what you are? The Watcher asked. Kale shook his head. Then come, the Watcher said, and see. He led Kale deep into a cave beneath the surface. Glowing roots ran through the rock, pulsing softly. They reached a chamber. Inside was a wall covered in carvings, humans standing before alien races, not as servants, but as gods. We weren't always the underdogs, the Watcher said. We were feared, not for our violence, but for our will. He touched a carving. We shape reality through belief, rage, hope, fear, where other species use machines. We used our minds and hands, until they labeled us monsters. What changed? Kale asked. We forgot, or were made to forget. He turned to Kale. But now, you remember. The Watcher stepped aside, revealing a sealed pod. Inside it floated another human. Younger. Unconscious. Double quotes. What is this? Kale asked. The second, the twin spark, the Watcher said. If both of you awaken fully, the galaxy will change forever, for better. Kale asked. The Watcher smiled faintly. For balance or destruction, it will depend on your choices. That night, Kale stood under the stars. His hands glowed, softly, like the stars above. He whispered to himself, these hands were never meant to hold weapons. He raised them. But if I must, they will shape the end of this age. Far above, more ships moved. Alien fleets, leaders who had buried. The truth now watched the sky with fear. The storm had begun, and its name was human. The human Codeth planet beneath the veil was a graveyard of forgotten truths. Deep in its stone belly, machines still whispered. Walls pulsed with ancient human tech, older than any alien memory, and now, for the first time in 1,000 years, it had awoken not for war, not yet, but for a question that echoed across time. Who is Kale? Kale stood in front of the sealed pod. The second spark. A young man floated inside, unconscious, breathing slow and deep. Unlike Kale, he didn't look damaged by years of labor. He looked untouched, like someone carved from memory. What is he to me? Kale asked. Not your brother, said the Watcher. Not your enemy, not yet, but he is connected. To what? To the code, the human code, the Watcher led Kale into the core chamber, a massive underground vault glowing with white-blue light. In the center floated an ancient AI round, cracked, but still alive. It spun slowly, scanning Kale as he entered. Designate. Human Prime active, the AI said. Code signature, verified. Kale stepped forward. What do you mean, code? The AI responded. You are not random. Your existence is planned, shaped by design. Part of the last project before the Great Purge. Lyra stepped beside him. I thought humanity evolved naturally again, out on the hidden colonies. The AI replied, wrong. Only a few lines were left untouched. You, it turned to Kale, are part of Project Genesis. The last attempt to save what humans were becoming. Kale frowned. And what was that? The AI changed form. It displayed holograms, humans with glowing hands, standing in front of galaxies. It showed them lifting massive objects, altering time flow, even destroying ships with thought. Alone, humans, it said, were beginning to merge thought with matter, emotion with physics. You were not building weapons, you were becoming one. Then the light turned dark, but the galaxy feared this. They feared what you would become. So, one council formed of the strongest species erased you from history. They called it balance. The images flickered, human cities burning, records wiped, children taken. You were the result of survivors, hidden, programmed to awaken only if the threat returned. Kale whispered, so I'm a weapon made by fear. The AI turned slowly. No, you are a key, and now the lock is breaking. Outside the vault, the ground shook. Alarms lit up. The base ships were entering the veil. Not syndicate, not bounty hunters, but something older. A fleet of obsidian black vessels broke through the storm. Their design matched no current alien empire. They were silent, triangular, and cold like forgotten gods. The Watcher's eyes widened. They were not supposed to come yet. Who are they? Kale asked. The architects. They built the council, and they left long ago. If they're here now, they felt the spark. Lyra checked the scanners. They're not attacking, just watching. The AI spoke again. They wait to judge. If they believe you're dangerous, they won't speak. They will erase this world from orbit. Kale stepped forward. Then let them come. As the others prepared defenses, Kale returned to the chamber with the pod. He placed his hand on the glass. The boy inside opened his eyes and smiled. Not kindly. You woke up. Kale said. The boy whispered, you're late. The pod hissed. Open. The second spark stepped out, barefoot, calm, like he had been waiting for this moment forever. What's your name? Kale asked. The boy looked at him. I am the other path, the one they couldn't control. Suddenly, he raised his hand. Kale was thrown back against the wall, not by touch, not by blast, but by raw will. Dust fell. Alarm screamed. The Watcher ran in. Stop. You'll bring the fleet down. Let them come, said the second spark. Now glowing bright red. They ended us once. Let's show them what they missed. Kale stood, blood at the corner of his mouth. This isn't how we fight. No, the second said. This is how we win. Their eyes met. The room cracked with pressure. The Watcher screamed, stop, or we all die here. But the sparks weren't listening. They were remembering. Not just power, not just pain, but the truth. Humans were not made to serve. They were made to choose. High above the planet, the architect fleet charged their weapons. And below, to forces stood ready. One of rage, one of reason. In the galaxy held its breath. Asterisk. The Shatter point sky above the veil darkened, even though it was already space. 10 obsidian black ships hung over the rebel world, silent, ancient, unmoving. These were not warships of greed. They didn't arrive to steal or conquer. They came to decide. The architects had returned, not as enemies, but as judges. In the mountain base, alarms screamed. Rebel fighters scrambled to stations. Underground cannons rose from the hills. Old satellites activated defense grids. No one thought still worked, but deep in the earth, in the core chamber, Kale and the second spark stood still, facing each other, power humming in the stone walls around them. You feel it too, don't you? The second spark said. His voice was calm, but sharp like a blade hidden in cloth. The weight in the air, the eyes above us. Kale nodded. They're waiting for us to make a choice. No, said the second. They're waiting to see if we survive it. He stepped forward. Light pulsed beneath his skin, deep red, unstable. You hold back, Kale. You still believe power can be controlled, but it was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be used. Kale didn't move. You want revenge, don't you? No, Kale said. I want an end, not a repeat. The second spark smiled bitterly. Then you're weaker than I thought. He raised his hand and the mountain shook. Machines screamed as pressure built in the tunnels. The rebel base began to crack. Power surged through cables like a living pulse. The AI screamed, warning, gravitational rupture forming, internal, collapse imminent. The watcher ran into the chamber. Stop this. He's triggering a chain reaction. If this mountain breaks, Kale didn't let him finish. He vanished outside the mountain. On the ridge above the Black Sea, soldiers and rebels looked up. The sky opened. Kale rose from the heart of the mountain, glowing like a star. His feet touched nothing. The wind curled around him like it was listening. Every rock, every leaf, every drop of water below him began to lift. Not from force. But from focus. From behind him. The second spark burst into the sky as well, rising like a comet of red light. They didn't speak. The choice had already been made. Above them, the architects moved. Their lead ship turned slightly. A silent signal passed through the fleet. Observe. The second spark struck first. A wave of red light smashed through the air, breaking gravity in a wide arc. Trees bent, mountains groaned, rebel bases shielded themselves in panic. Kale raised one hand and the wave shattered, broken midair like glass hit by silence. Then he answered. A single pulse from his palm and the ocean below split for 5 seconds. The ground trembled as waves rose like towers, then fell. The second laughed. You're learning. Kale's eyes were gold now. I'm remembering. They charged. What followed was not a fight. It was a collapse of logic. Every law of physics bent, then broke. Time slowed. Rocks froze in the air. Color faded from the world. Sound turned into echo. No weapons. No machines. Just the human beings who had become more than human. And every being in orbit, in hiding, watching through screens or satellites, felt the same thing. This is what they feared. Not destruction. But the proof that humans had once been something more. And still could be. In the final moment, when both Kale and the second spark raised their hands for the final blow, something stopped. Not a voice, not a weapon, but a pulse from above. A blue beam touched the earth. A message from the architects. Spoken in 1,000 minds at once. Stand down. Judgment paused. Code accepted. Time returned. Life faded. The storm ended. The second spark fell to his knees. Kale floated back to the mountain's edge, chest rising, arms shaking. He looked up. The ships were leaving, not in fear, not in anger, but in recognition. The watcher arrived moments later. What happened? He asked. Kale closed his eyes. We passed, far from the veil, in the deep systems of the galaxy. Councils received the message. The human code was active. Their greatest secret had failed, and the thing they feared most was now awake. The new order. 3 days had passed since the sky cracked open. 3 days since Kale and the second spark stood beneath the watching eyes of the architects. 3 days since the world changed and the galaxy felt it. But peace did not follow. Peace never follows power. From the silent corners of space, old power stirred. Council members who once ruled in secret began to gather in shadows. Some whispered about containment, others about surrender. But all of them asked the same question. What happens now? Kale sat alone on the mountain's edge. Below him, the ocean had calmed. The rebel base was quiet. Repairs had begun. For the first time in years, no alarms screamed, no warnings flashed. No one hunted them, but still, he could not sleep. His hands, once just hands, now held something deeper. Not just strength, not just memory. Purpose. He could feel the galaxy watching him. Not with fear anymore. With expectation. Behind him, footsteps. It was Lyra. Her face was tired, but steady. The second spark is awake. How is he? Quiet, she said. Different. Kale nodded. He was never evil, just broken, like the rest of us, Lyra said, sitting beside him. For a moment, the wind spoke in silence. Then she asked, what will you do now? Kale looked at the stars. They think I'm a weapon, he said, but I'm not. I'm a question they never wanted to ask. And the answer, still becoming, inside the mountain. The Watchers stood before a council of rebel leaders. They had connected with other human enclaves, hidden colonies, lost stations, even frozen cryo vaults forgotten by time. And they had one message to share. The line is active. The code lives. The order is changing. Some feared it. Some worshipped it. But none could stop it. Above the Veil Planet, for the first time in centuries, a human fleet assembled. Not pirates, not slaves, free humans, ships old and new painted with their own colors, powered by forgotten tech, guided by instinct, not orders. They didn't come to fight. They came to stand. Beside Kale, a message was broadcast into open space. We are not returning to the galaxy. We never left. You erased our names. Now you will remember elsewhere in the deep core systems. Panic grew. High councils met in secret chambers. Species who once claimed to be gods of logic and peace now feared the truth. Humans had survived. At worst, they had evolved. One elder spoke to the others. If one of them could destroy a fleet, what happens when 1,000 rise? Another replied, "This is not war." Then what is it? The elder paused, voice low. Balance. At last, back on the Veil Planet, Kale entered the chamber where the second spark waited. The boy stood by the old carvings, tracing the shapes with his fingers. "We were never meant to be alone," he said. "No," Kale agreed. "But we were never meant to be used either." The boy turned. "We could destroy them all, reshape everything. We could," Kale said. "But we won't." "Why not?" "Because if we become like them, then we win nothing." The boy stared at him. "So, what now? You lead them." Kale shook his head. "No, we don't need kings. We need reminders. We need to build something better. A new empire." Kale smiled faintly. "No," he said, "a new order." And so it began. The rise of something not written in any alien history. Not forged in war, but in the fire of survival. The human code was no longer a myth. It had a face, a name. Kale. And as stars turned above him, the galaxy began to change. Not through battle. Not through fear, but through the awakening of a truth that could never be buried again. These hands were never meant to hold weapons. They were born to shatter worlds and rebuild them.